Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Mavericks, brought to you by InnovaDDB Ghana. We're so excited to have you with us tonight. And tonight, I've got a great panel of experts and industry practitioners to discuss a topic that's very dear to our industry. It's right at the heart of our industry. Without wasting time, I would like to go to my guests and ask them to introduce themselves. Can I start with you, sir?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Vernon Sondo. An eco-evangelist and chief servant at Chintafric.
Awesome. And you, please?
Hello. My name is Fiona Eching, a Kenyan by nationality, and I'm currently a digital strategist at InnovaDDB Ghana.
Awesome. And you, please?
Okay, my name is Dr. Joshua Doe, brands and technology adoption consultant and a lecturer.
Awesome. So like I told you, we've got a great panel of experts and our practitioners. Today, our topic is something that's very much at the heart of our industry and our nation, if I can put it that way. We're going to discuss sustainable marketing for a greener future. We're going to look at the trends, the strategies, and how we, as industry practitioners, can all be very sustainable. To start with, I'd like to come back to you, Vernon. Just tell us what you understand by this industry, and we'll just go around.
Sustainability marketing. To me, it's basically the art of communicating impact. Because impact is basically the outcome of the effect of a product on people, on society, and on businesses.
Awesome.
And how you communicate that impact is the art of sustainability marketing.
Excellent. And you, please, Fiona?
Yeah, for me, just to piggyback on what he said and to add on to it, it's more of doing something today that will help in future, not just your business, but the people who work for you, the people you're working for, and the people who consume what you're doing at the end of the day. And it can transcend people to even the environment around you as well.
I keep hearing people, people, people.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Doc, you please.
Sustainability marketing is the ability to solve our problems or serve our needs today without jeopardizing the ability of the future generations to also solve their problems. And it basically runs on three legs: economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. And all three must be integrated for it to be holistic.
Excellent. Excellent. So let me just come back to you, Fiona. This is something that is going around. I mean, some people even think that's just a trend. It's a fact. It's going to go away after a while. How old is this whole idea of sustainable marketing? And is this something that is just here briefly and it's going to go away?
No, personally, well, as a strategist, I don't think it's something that's just here briefly and it's going to go away. Some people tend to think about it that way, especially in our context of Ghana, because it's something very new. But when you look closely, even to scientific facts, one of the reasons why we have this whole thing coming up is because of how our practices and actions are degrading not only our planets, but even how our work ethics are degrading people, because we were talking about people as well. So people might see it as a fetish, but it's more than just a fetish. It's a call towards a lifestyle. I like to think of it sometimes as health or how we treat our bodies. You know, the same way somebody can tell you that if you constantly consume junk today, you're going to pay for it 10 years later or 20 years later, sometimes even 2 years later. The same way, if we don't practice sustainable ways of doing things right now, we're going to pay for it gravely many years to come, or even just in a few years' time. Yeah.
I'll come back to you, please. Let me just go on to Zoom. We've got another guest joining us on Zoom. Please, if you can hear me, I want you to introduce yourself like all the guests did. And just tell us your initial understanding of what this whole subject of sustainable marketing is, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very loud and clear.
My name is Michael Borton. I'm a consultant, ESG, and climate accountant. I'm GAG accounting in climate. Now, what I see when you talk about marketing and sustainability is this. Marketing is trying to meet the needs of a customer, identifying the need, trying to meet it as much as you can. Then sustainability in this sense is while you do that, you make sure that your impact on the environment is as minimized as possible. You make sure your impact on society is as positive as possible. And you make sure that you are as ethically right as possible. This is what I see when I put sustainability and marketing together.
Excellent. If I can stay with you, please. So is this something that's new? Is it just like a fad that's going to go away? Or is something that has always been there and is going to continue in our industry?
We've been talking about corporate social responsibility. It caught on more or less. This is a bit more different. This is something, is the future of business. Let me put it this way. Any company that is not positive, that does not have a strong ESG in the next 4 or 5 years could actually fall behind.
Wow.
That is, we just need to prepare ourselves to face it, to embrace it and work with it. For example, last year, January 2024, most companies, we prepare our accounts with a standard. That standard is IFRS. Then IFRS developed S2. So from 2024 January, most companies that will be putting up their account, their statement, we've made profit this month, our revenue for this amount, and this and that. They have to also show their emissions. They have to show
how sustainable they've been.
Yes. If you said your profits are 1 million Ghana cedis and your emissions are like 50,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, we can compare you with other companies easily based on that. So you just don't put up what you have as your financial statement. You are showing within the statement what is happening to emissions. And
I like that.
The Bank of Ghana gave out a directive that said all banks should have a statement with their bank, with their financial statement. They should state their risk in terms of climate. They should state how they are managing the climate risk. So these are issues that are coming up, and whether we like it or not, we are going to face them. And if you remember the carbon tax that has been repealed, it is definitely going to come back. It was repealed mostly because I'm sure the right sounding, the engagement wasn't, the consultations were not done properly. So now it will be done properly and to come back. And all these issues are issues that we have in ESG. And if we don't take care and align ourselves with them now, we'll be falling behind very soon.
Thank you very much. If I can stay with that and come to you, Vernon. So as an industry and as a country, is there a way that we measure how businesses are sustainable in their marketing? I mean, is there a way we do that, and are there standards? Who is checking? Who is, kind of like policing it?
Well, as I said, he mentioned the sustainable banking principles.
Yes.
I led the development of the principles back then, 2014, 2015. And at that time, the banks were still struggling in terms of how do we report on our performance. There is no national standard in terms of how you measure sustainability. He mentioned the ISSB, International Sustainability Standards Board, and the IFRS, sort of S2 standard, which kind of mandates entities to report on the climate impact as well. Eventually, in Ghana, most firms are going to be mandated to have sustainability reporting. So it is coming. The banks are already doing it, and they report to the Bank of Ghana every quarter. They have to kind of literally explain how their operations are impacting on the environment, on society, and general governance compliance issues. It will take a while before it becomes mandatory, as it is in Europe at the moment, where the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive literally mandated every European entity to report mandatorily. And you not only report, when you write your report, you need to get someone to independently assure that report, just to prove that everything you're saying is actually factual. And of course, greenwashing became punishable by law.
Yes.
So the trends are, it is actually coming. Those who are actually taking it seriously, are investing the time now to innovate. Because those who don't innovate would actually continue to fight fires. Mind you, if you look at what happened in the COVID 2020, in April when everything crashed, if you look at the performance of the stock indices, the companies that actually stayed above the lines, continued to kind of be profitable, were most of the firms that were ESG aligned.
Wow.
Why? Because they had risk and resilience practices which kind of transcended ticking boxes. Because they literally looked into their supply chain, greened their supply chain, and that is why they were able to absorb some of the shocks. It was still standard to sort of build into a supply chain that you're going to get 6 containers from China every week, right? But then suddenly, people realize, okay, fine, we need to start looking locally to figure out how can we source locally. And that is also an aspect of impact creation, looking locally, developing communities, and brand equity, making your brand look more reputable, right? While kind of helping to develop local communities. Fact is, those who take it seriously are going to be more resilient.
Okay.
But those who don't take it seriously will continue to fight fires. Companies that actually are more profitable. They're profitable because they've literally been able to be holistic in their approach to sustainability, cutting across every facet of operations. So what they are doing is they have stopped firefighting. They have enough time to innovate.
Okay.
And they continue to innovate.
All right.
And so they will stay profitable and resilient in the long term.
Thank you very much. Viewers, we're still on the Marketing Mavericks, brought to you by InnovaDDB Ghana. I'll come to you, Doc. So just following on from there, why is sustainable marketing so relevant today? Is it businesses really buying into it because they are afraid of being punished by the regulator, if there's a regulator at all? Or is it because there's advocacy by groups like Gen Zs? Or is it influencing even buyer preferences when it comes to what the brands that people choose when they go shopping? Why is that relevant now?
Okay, so let me give some brief
Yes,
background to the conversation today. Sustainability marketing is not a new phenomenon, actually. Somewhere around the 1960s, specifically 1962, there was an article published by Carlson who raised awareness on how marketing activities have helped to, more or less, for lack of a better word, degrade environments.
Okay.
And warned that if the trend continued that way, the future generations would be suffering all kinds of diseases and things. That followed, so the organizations responded by tagging themselves as green, eco-labeling, and all these things came. And that was the season when, and that was about 1980, 1990. So greenwashing became the ish. You just have to tag yourself, I'm green.
Yeah, please, for our viewers who don't, understand what greenwashing is, can you just explain greenwashing?
Greenwashing is just calling yourself sustainable or green when indeed you are not.
Okay, simple as that.
Yes, say for instance, this product
Making
is
a
organic,
claim.
and meanwhile it's not organic. So those kinds of claims became the ish. However, in the early 2000s, it became a strategic tool to ensure that your products are sustainable. But at that time, it was also cloaked in CSR.
Okay.
So more of the organizations were doing it under CSR activity, ensuring that they don't, and at that, it was mainly about the environment. But there are two sides of the stream. Much as you want to produce sustainably, there are costs involved.
Yes.
So sustainability is actually cost, but you have to manage the two.
How it affects profit.
How it affects profit. Because cost also affects profit eventually. So fast forward from that, the Gen Zs also entered the fray and started demanding inclusivity and the like. So now organizations can't just claim that we are green or we are that. Now you have to show the Gen Zs what you have done. Currently, there's a lot of accountability demanded of organizations to be sustainable. And the trend is, if you claim you are sustainable, what is the evidence? What is the data showing? So if you say this product is organic, for instance, what % of it is organic? By science, you should be able to prove. Without that, you are still greenwashing. And so at a point, greenwashing was in vogue, but now you can't do greenwashing and get away with it. You would need to, into the future, you would need to really invest into it. You would really need to prove. And the more consumers understand or see you as green, the more they patronize your product, because everybody wants to be healthy. Everybody wants to live healthy lives. So if you are showing evidence that you are green, you are sustainable, more consumers would like to purchase from you, and that spikes your profit.
Yeah.
So into the future, you can't just do, it's not something that will just wash away any moment from now. Into the future, it's going to be a big strategic tool for almost every organization. It does, irrespective of what you do. Even if you are cleaning gutters, you still need to clean the gutters sustainably.
Okay. Yeah. I like, how far you've taken us, Doc. Let me come to you, Fiona. So Doc talked about the fact that today you can't just make that claim. You can't claim that you're sustainable. Just a couple of, questions I've tried to do. So what are some of the crimes that we're committing against the environment as marketing people? What are some of the crimes we're committing, okay? And then just claiming that, we're actually not committing those crimes. And he also talked about the fact that there's a big advocacy out there, especially by Gen Zs. There's stories about people, for example, marching even to block roads of some factories, stop people from operating when they think the environment, the factory is not being environmentally friendly, it's not being sustainable. Is that what we're seeing in Ghana? Just, give me.
Okay, so on the first question on what are some of the things,
crimes.
there's some of the crimes they're committing. I'm actually glad you asked that, because it's something I try to be very conscious about, even as a strategist, and sometimes it transcends to even the ethics of marketing, which we overlook a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, we're in a society where businesses really prioritize profit. You want to sell the product no matter what. So then you as a marketer, sometimes you're tasked with trying to sugarcoat a product that is very harmful, but because the business needs money or you're getting something from it, you have to really push it out there and overlook the fact that this could be dangerous in one way. So what do? You try to flip the coin on the other side so that people forget or overlook the dangerous side of the business, which is actually not right. So we have to challenge ourselves to be able to say no, to a product or a brand that is going to harm us in the long run.
Okay.
Yes, it might look costly for us today, but then as we said, if we're living in a generation where people are very vocal about these things, then best believe that those vocal people will patronize you, and that's actually going to grow your business.
Yes.
On the Gen Zs...
So it's still profitable being sustainable.
Yes, it's very profitable. It just might take a little bit of time if people around you are not too used to it, because then they have to buy into that culture so that your product becomes a new thing for them.
Our brand owners need to hear this.
Yes, they have to change.
Ultimately, it will still be profitable.
Exactly.
Don't look for the quick profit.
Yes, thank you. And then on the Gen Z side, yes, we see a lot of that, especially in the international stage. On the Ghanaian scene, yes, there's a bit of that. Like, it's growing. It's a market that is catching up. But then where we fall short is that this is still very new in our space. So people still need to be educated about it. And I think it's very possible because you see a lot of young people taking initiatives, being proactive about what they consume, how they live. We see the rise of things like self-care. People are even making their own products. They want to be able to be in charge of what's going on their face. These are proactive people, So if you teach them about what it means to live sustainably and produce sustainably, you'll find them on the streets advocating against the companies that are not promoting this kind of lifestyle.
Excellent. Let me go back online on Zoom and speak to our guests on Zoom. So let me come back to you on this. So in Ghana, who is the regulator? Okay, is there a legal framework within which we need to operate, and are we really doing what we're supposed to do? Because you often hear brands making all sorts of claims to be sustainable, and who is catching them?
Add to what Fiona was just saying, then I'll come back to your question. When you talk about sustainability, when we talk about marketing, the responsibility, even if you were just a marketer and you have no role in developing the service, You have no role in developing the product. Your responsibility goes all the way back to where the product started being designed, when it was produced all the way, so that you, whatever you are marketing is part of you, is part of your image, is your brand. If Joy FM, Joy TV is advertising a program for my consultancy, we become one in such a way that whatever I am doing in that space during that time is your responsibility as well. So I cannot be seen to be talking to my staff during the event, slapping somebody or misbehaving. For example, if a bottled water said that, let me get another better example.
If we don't want to get in trouble.
Yes. If I don't want to mention anything that goes off like that with somebody's name, but if a product said the weight was 50 grams, or let's say 500 grams, that's more like it. When you take it and weigh it, it should not be 450. Every step of the marketing aspect that you are doing has to cover the production as well, and it has to be trustworthy. It has to be trustworthy in the way that everybody who consumes the product knows that we are not doing anything to affect the environment. We are not doing anything to affect the people. For example, this is one very funny, but it's something I have to say. When we watch TV as Africans and we see women who, and this is not against women, let me apologize for saying that right from the beginning. Women bleach and with hair that looks like white people, it does not impact very well on our society. So these are issues that when marketing, people involved in marketing sustainability, we need to be looking at.
Okay.
We usually look at the side that is green, which is where I come from more, like the emissions and the environmental issues and all that. But there are very important social issues that we have to cover.
All right.
And yes, please go ahead.
All right. I just want to come back to the studio. We'll come back to you and go back to Vernon. So Vernon, if I'm hearing, him, there's a bit of responsibility that every stakeholder needs to show, including in self-regulation. Because I was asking him about what regulatory framework do we have. But even without the regulatory framework, we need to, as brand owners, buy into this and have a responsibility to really do this, champion this. Can you talk more about this?
Well, the art of communicating sustainability, as Doc mentioned, there's greenwashing, there is carbon washing, there is, rainbow washing, there is all sorts of washing, right?
Yeah.
And at times people do it unknowingly. It's just omissions because they don't really know how to do it. But the onus is on the brand owners to sort of seek the right help in communicating. The other thing is they can actually seek the right help, but then they have not been able to address their sustainability issues in a way that identifies the things that are material to them as an entity. When that happens, they start communicating the wrong message because they're not addressing what their stakeholders really want to hear. So when your communication is not material, it means that you have not actually understood what your stakeholders are asking for. But when you communicate and do your materiality and really understand what each stakeholder really wants from you, then you get to address in your communication, right? That communication is literally addressing the gaps you've identified and how you're addressing them. And that literally sort of aligns with what each of those stakeholders were saying. Then you are communicating in a way that is material to your operations. and you're communicating in a way that is responsible and ethical, because you're literally not over-communicating or miscommunicating.
Okay.
Because you're literally just quoting facts that are sort of science-based targets that are based on baselines that you have set, and not just wordy statements like, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2050, right? Without any understanding of what even energy efficiency is.
Excellent, excellent. So if I can come to you, Doc, from what I'm hearing from Vernon, it means that as brand owners, we also need to invest a bit in even educating the stakeholders, communicating, right, and all of that. Is that something we are doing, or is that something we need to probably, maybe you being an expert in that space, need to encourage more brand owners to invest in?
I will actually encourage brand owners to invest into sustainability practice, like the co-panelist said, the one on Zoom. Now, marketing doesn't just start from when the product is ready. So even if I'm just a retailer, consciously, I need to ensure that whoever produces the products is producing sustainably. Else, I'm encouraging non-sustainability. I'm encouraging him to destroy the environment, to set up all kinds of wrong systems for society. Subsequently, people would dislike that product and they wouldn't buy from me.
Okay.
So, and going beyond that, I will encourage all consumers to be sustainability conscious. Here's the explanation of the whole drama. The more we demand sustainable products, the more firms are bound to produce sustainably for us.
Exactly.
If we demand any product, they'll produce anything. At the end of the day, a firm is looking for profit. So if a brand can go around it and make profit without, and still greenwash and everything looks fine, they will. But if we begin to demand, pay attention to the details of all the claims of sustainability, green products, they are bound to produce sustainably for us. That way, we would like the product, we'll patronize them more, they will also stay and produce more for our society. So beyond encouraging brands to invest in sustainability, I will encourage consumers rather more.
Okay.
If I should encourage
to vote with your pocket.
to vote with your pocket. Because why should I buy a product which is going to be damaging to my health or something about me? And unfortunately, particularly in the health sector, I may get into trouble, but it needs to be said. A lot of the I'm not mentioning names,
Yeah.
but a lot of the health products we've seen around are not very healthy for us. Even in the agri sector, the agrochemicals we've used for our farming, a lot of them are not very healthy. There's this claim of they are on a sustainable level, but if you put even 10% of a toxic chemical into an agrochemical, those things don't die. Those chemicals, they don't die. They will be in the soil. And over time, you see that it kills the soil. So for all those who have been using the conventional chemicals for farming, over time, you realize the soil is dying. So you need to now buy more fertilizers, buy more chemicals.
Wow.
So over time, your cost goes up, your profit is narrowed. So it's better to start from tilling the soil, making the soil breathe, making the soil alive.
Oh,
And then
costing
over
you
time,
more.
it costs you more from beginning, but over time, you get much more profit. But an organization, a farmer wouldn't do that if there's no market for the green product. So I would encourage ourselves as consumers to demand sustainable green products.
And we'll compel them.
And we'll compel them to produce.
Excellent. Hold on to that for me. Viewers, don't go anywhere. You're still on the Marketing Mavericks, powered by InnovaDDB Ghana. We're going to go for a short break, as we also need to be sustainable, if I can use that word. So let's go for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Welcome back, viewers. You're still on the Marketing Mavericks, brought to you by InnovaDDB Ghana in conjunction or in partnership with United Nations Global Compact. Tonight, we're discussing the topic of sustainable marketing. We're looking at all the trends, why it's relevant today, and the strategies that we need to adopt as brand owners and even as consumers, what we need to do to really push this agenda. I've got with me a great panel of experts and industry practitioners. I would like to introduce them now. To my far right, I've got my friend Vernon Sondo, who is the CEO of Giant Afrique. Okay. And then next to him, I've got another friend of mine, great friend of mine, Fiona Eching. Eching. Okay. Fiona is
yes, it's easier.
a Kenyan, so yeah, forgive me for
no worries.
for bashing your name. She is a strategist at InnovaDDB, and then also I've got Dr. Doe, who's a brand and tech innovation consultant. And then on Zoom, I've got also another great expert, Mr. Michael Ampeboating. He's a managing consultant of Blue Alliance, a lead climate ESG consultant to AGI. Thank you very much for, staying with us. I want to come back to continue the conversation where we were before. I'll come to you, Fiona. Okay. So can you give us some, I see a trend where, like Doc was saying, even retailers now are making a conscious decision to stock brands that are, that are compliant, that are sustainable. Right. Can you give us some examples and how all of us as consumers can really jump onto this?
Right. So if I can talk from the cosmetics point of
yes,
view,
please.
for instance,
go ahead. Yeah.
There's this new lingo, like phrase going around when it comes to skincare and what you use, like oils, etc. And they say that if you can't eat it, then it's definitely not good for your skin.
Oh, wow.
You know, and that has actually influenced the way some brands come out and even market their products and the mechanics in which they make their products. And some of those brands are actually Ghanaian. They're found in Ghana. They sell cosmetics that you can eat as well as use. So if you run out of cooking oil, for instance, you can take your shea butter and use it to cook, and you can use it to oil yourself as well. And this makes it more environmentally friendly and also good for the person because you're saving them from harmful things like the sulfates and the chemicals that are coming in there. And because people are generally more conscious about these things these days, people are likely to gravitate more towards you because when you tell a consumer this or you show a consumer such a product, what they're really hearing is that this brand cares about me.
Cares about me.
Yes.
That's very key.
There's a trend that is coming up where people are moving away from self-centeredness. If you're a brand that seems self-centered and you only care about your money and your profits, people will not care about you. People want to know that you care about humanity. You care about the well-being of others. You care about the environment. So regardless of what you're selling, they're going to buy it. Let me give an example of tea, for instance, right? I am a lover of tea. And we know that Kenya produces a lot of tea, yes. So usually when I'm going to buy tea in Kenya, for instance, I want to pick the sachet that has the fair trade on it. Because I know what fair trade is doing. I know that they're trying to be sustainable and friendly even to the people who work with them. So I'm more likely to go for that brand because even though, yes, I'm consuming it as a luxury, I know I'm contributing to a cause that is helping people, that is helping the environment. So when you practice those kind of sustainable actions, it makes people feel part of your bigger story.
Excellent.
If I can't help in your company, at least I can contribute to the cause that you're trying to help with your products or the way you run your systems.
Excellent, thank you. Vernon, can you jump into that and talk about other industries as well?
Well, if you look at the recycling industry, for example.
Recycling industry.
Look at Aquafil, one of our project partners in Europe. They pride themselves as the only entity that actually chemically recycles nylon. You ask yourself, why nylon, right? They use it to produce Econil, which is used in the car manufacturing industry, aerospace, as well as to make sunglasses and all that. So waste fish nets is a huge problem, right? It actually is a waste. When dumped, kind of washes in the ocean, entangles turtles, and just sort of damage to the marine ecosystem. But recycled nylon, right, when used, actually reduces your energy kind of content for a product by 80%, right? So most entities want to use it because if they use it, they can literally offset their carbon by 80%. But while they're doing that, they're literally promoting a cause which actually reduces
Okay.
the impact of pollution
Okay.
of waste business on the shores of Ghana. Because we collect, we send over to them, they use it to process and make it. So the brand would actually associate themselves with the recycled nylon pellet because it not only reduces its carbon content, carbon intensity in products and material, it also contributes towards a cause on the shores of Africa because it literally reduces pollution from waste fisheries, which is a huge problem, causing untold issues because globally, about 650,000 tons of it gets washed out into the marine, right? Nobody really talks about it, right? But an entity will say, okay, fine, I would invest in recycled nylon because it not only reduces my carbon footprint, it also promotes a particular cause, actually even improving on livelihoods for fishing communities because we buy those nets from fishermen, which is a waste, right? How you link it is very important. Most consumers want to actually see, as Fiona said, they want to see something that you are promoting which is tangible, right? And some of them will go as far as actually making it traceable. But when you see a particular waste fish net, it's going to say this one comes from Bompata on the Lake Volta because it can be traced to it. And some will only use it when there is that traceability content to it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Doc, let me come to you. I know you are, on the low key, a farmer. Give us, how even in farming, this is also, can also be practiced.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, I'm just telling a story to tell why there's a need for us to consciously demand and be ready to pay for sustainable products. A couple of years ago, my brother and I decided we'll go into mango, and we decided we'll go organic mangoes. We started, set up the farm, and then we produced our own organic manure from cow waste and some things. By the time we harvested, the mangoes were so organic, they could stay on the shelf for like a month without anything.
Wow.
Just put it on the shelf. 1 month is still there before it starts getting softer and softer. It was so, and anybody who tasted the mango realized it was quite different from what they had tasted on the market. But the market wasn't ready to pay the premium price for that product. And so we had to, and consumers demand, it's demand that drives production.
Yes.
So if there's no demand, who are you producing for? Who wants to pay for that? So there's a need for us as society to demand sustainable product, green product, because the bad product is going to kill you in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, there's a story, if this is...
Please keep it short for me.
As before we went organic, I go on the farm myself, I spray. Then I had this terrible cough that wouldn't go. I tried everything, it wouldn't go. But when we started the organic manure, the thing just ran. I don't know where it ran till date. I never experienced anything of that sort. So casting my mind back, it told me the chemicals I was spraying was that toxic. I had some irreparable cough. I tried everything, it didn't go. So we are producing, what are we buying as consumers? What are we buying? We need to pay attention. Otherwise, we'll kill ourselves and say, it's the devil, it's this, it's that. And it's nothing short of trying to buy things the cheapest. And everybody likes to buy things the cheapest.
Yeah.
If we begin to demand sustainable products, it would come with price increases, but it is better in the long run for ourselves because we'll stay healthier.
I like that. So as consumers, we have a lot of responsibility. Fiona, come
just
quickly
to
and then go to Michael.
Yes, we keep on talking about how, yes, consumers have to demand it, right? But then I can't demand what I don't know, right? So it has
education,
to first, begin with the education. And part of that education, one thing I've realized is that let's say a lot of the companies that right now practice what we call sustainable marketing usually do it under their CSR. And I have a
Okay.
problem with that because then it makes it a one-time thing you do, maybe
And
to
for
just
the cameras.
exactly to check the box. But this should be your
lifestyle,
lifestyle. Is
yeah.
it reflected even in your company? How you use your energy, how you use your air conditioners, for instance. All these things have to play a part. When you go to our schools, do we have systems whereby we actually engage students in sustainability models? You know, do we take them out to maybe consistently do things like beach cleanups every month or every quarter? Are we practicing these things from the get-go? Because that's where it starts. Otherwise, we're going to be demanding something we don't really know. So we will never really get to that point where we're all sustainable or we're practicing it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Michael, on Zoom. If you can still hear me. So just, talking about this and thinking through it, I'm a marketing person. One of the challenges we often have is, yes, we hear the story, we want to really do it, but then we have to defend it to our, business owners. Because business owners are always looking for profit. And if we're going to do this, we agree the profit will come, but it will not come immediately. So they need to bear with us. They need to allow us in budgeting and in even developing new products be sustainable. And that might cost a bit for now. Michael, what advice do you have for business owners since you are a big practitioner in this space?
For business owners, every shift that you make towards being greener, you could actually make money for it.
Please repeat that for us. I need them to hear that very well.
Almost every shift that you make towards being greener, you could actually make money for it. Let me give you an example. I was working on a business plan for a colleague who is a huge poultry farm, and he wants solar system to power it all. When we sat down, the solar system was costing $3.4 million. And I thought, no, this is not good enough. It's too expensive. It makes the capex so high. But when we worked on the OPEX, the power consumption per year was $1.75 million. Power consumption alone per year. That means in 3 years, if he bought the solar system with the batteries and everything, he's saving money for the rest of the next 20 years, which is wonderful. In this case, we calculate the offset. There's a very simple way to calculate it. We can use the diesel that you could have used to generate power, or we could just use the emission factor for electricity for Ghana, and then we calculate the offset. That offset, somebody will pay you money. They can pay 5 years ahead of time. They can pay 10 years ahead of time for you to have some money to cool down the effect of the investment you are making towards being greener.
Okay.
And there are many options in this case. We call this section carbon, how to raise money with carbon credit. And for many startups also, they could use same systems to raise money to empower their startups.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come to you, Vernon. So in all this, is there a role for policymakers and governments, and what role should they play to really, promote this?
I think policy has the biggest sort of power in terms of shifting the scale towards driving not just consumer perception, but also industry practices. If you look at what is happening in Europe at the moment, they had plans to phase out the production of diesel and petrol cars by 2025. Like it should have been phased out this year, but then they extended it to 2035. You would actually be wondering why there is a huge proliferation of electric vehicles. It's because they're already working towards that phasing out of diesel and petrol cars. Because if you continue to produce diesel and petrol cars without shifting to electric vehicles, then you become a stranded asset. So they're literally responding to the demand, not just from industry, but then most people are actually really demanding electric vehicles. Now, if you want to kind of come down locally, Just imagine the government of Ghana saying, for all those who supply water to schools, right? I want to ban the supply of water bottles, plastic water bottles, and sachet water to schools in terms of supplying water. I want you to sort of consider anything else. You would literally see the proliferation of fountains and dispensers.
Yes.
Right? Because it's a policy which is literally driving green procurement. So entities will say, okay, fine. We are banning the use of the supply of water, sachet water and water bottles to schools. And embracing water dispensers and fountains. Fountains, we used to use them before. It used to be like, in schools, you used to have a central tap where everybody goes and drink water, right? Somehow that got phased out, right? So now everybody carries a plastic bottle, water sachet. I'm just talking about the potential that policy has. Governments in Africa are literally the biggest procurers. They have the potential to change dynamics, especially in how we consume. So policy is very impressive. If you look at what has happened in Ghana, especially with the proliferation of carbon credits, Ghana was the first country to issue an ITMO.
Okay.
So-called internationally transferred mitigation outcomes.
Okay.
Which is more like the so-called way of trading carbon now, right? Because the government actually saw the potential, right? People are willing to pay.
All right, excellent.
For you to reduce your carbon emissions because they're willing to invest in buying that credit because they too are mandatorily obliged to reduce their emissions in the long term by investing in developing countries as ascribed by the Paris Treaty in 2015. So policy is so instrumental, very imperative, especially if used in the right way.
And our policymakers need to start looking towards this.
They are. I mean, look at Ghana, look at Rwanda, look at Kenya in terms of the proliferation of extended polluter responsibility frameworks to sort of manage the use of plastics. Of course, the Global Plastics Treaty is going to be negotiated sometime in August in Geneva. Not sure whether the treaty is going to be finally, formulated, but these are emerging trends which are sort of aligning with consumer demands, like something needs to be done, right, to regulate the use of plastics. It was very cool when it came in the 1950s,
Okay.
As a way of safely packaging products and everything. But then it suddenly became a nuisance because we literally threw away all our common practices traditionally, reusing stuff, using calabashes and all that to embrace the use of plastics.
Yeah.
But if you look at the trend now, we're literally going back towards the basics. Because most consumers are actually saying, we can do better.
We can do better.
And the onus is on the brand owners to sort of communicate their impact in a way that consumers can understand. And consumers, as Doug said, also have to educate them. There are lots of ways you can educate yourself about sustainability, about sustainable living. It must not be necessarily expensive, right? There are cheaper ways of doing it. And if you embrace the right sort of attitude, the right sort of material, there's they say it's from lack of knowledge that people perish. The knowledge is there. But if we can educate ourselves and sort of actually, some of the policies that government will bring, they are painful initially. But in the long term, as Fiona said, in the long term, it will yield the right time of results and payoff.
Thank you. Doc, let me come to you. And something that Vernon said, procurement is a big part of this, and government is big. So it takes a government policy to be very strategic in this case about procurement. Going back to your example about the mango example, for example, how do you think, let's take school feeding, for example, the government making a decision to buy and source agri-products that are actually compliant. How do you think it can impact and even change? If the government leads it, other businesses will follow, from what I'm hearing, and we can really get somewhere with this. Just talk to us about that.
I couldn't have agreed with my colleague more. Government has a couple of ways it should encourage sustainability, apart from policy, as in, let's say if government decide now, every egg that appears in the school, there must be a trace of it being green or being sustainable. Everybody will produce. Once you want to supply to the schools, you produce green.
But they all want to sell to government.
You want to sell.
Biggest buyer.
Example. Now, if, apart from that, taxes, because if the taxes on, for instance, the green production is the same as the ones that are not producing green, then they see their costs going up and therefore begin to find ways to lower costs by just going conventional. But if government lowers taxes on based on your green, let's say, index, lower your tax bit, it will encourage more people to produce green and therefore pay less tax. Then your cost can now even become the same as a person doing the conventional production. And that would help.
So procurement and
taxation
two
policies.
key policies that. Let me come to you, Fiona. A lot of people listening to us may be small business owners who are unsure how they can even practice this, so how it affects them. Just talk to us about that. How small business owners can even be compliant.
So just as he said, sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that it has to be expensive. And then because of that, a lot of people don't want to practice that. But like I said, sometimes it starts from where you are within your office. For instance, if I'm talking about joy, right, then I'm asking the question of how often, like, what is my carbon footprint? Like, how often do I keep my lights on, even when I'm not using them? Is there a way I can cut that down? And then the issue of, let me call it over-marketing. You know, sometimes as marketers or people want to over-market. And then what does that look like? It might look like over-producing collateral, right? Let's say you're promoting one product, but then you've printed 1,000 flyers that are just going to be thrown away after it's used. Or you've created a campaign that is supposed to last 9 months, but you didn't ask yourself what the implications of that would be. You're constantly using transportation to get from this place to the other place. You're constantly making T-shirts and all of that. So those are some of the ways in which they can think about the sustainability. Yes, you might not be able to maybe buy the best efficient machine for your emissions or something, but you can control what you produce for your marketing activities. You can control the ambience you create within your production environment as well, just to start small. And then maybe even another example, something that I don't see as often as we should see, is the segregation of waste. You know, do we have a bin for plastics
that's a big
and a bin for biodegradable products? You know, it starts from there. And then you can reuse your biodegradable products. You can take the plastics maybe for a recycling plant or something like that. So those small things then create a bigger picture, and all these practices become part of your culture as a company or as a small business owner. So then it informs everything you do moving forward, so that by the time you're scaling up, you're actually a very sustainable and eco-friendly business.
I'll come back to you, Fiona, for your final thoughts. And everybody can add their final thoughts. But is it okay then, just for our small business owners, to advise them to, for example, embrace WhatsApp their flyers on WhatsApp instead of printing them? So they distribute them via WhatsApp instead of printing thousands of them.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Now give us your final thoughts, then we'll go around, please.
Like I said, being sustainable does not have to be expensive. I think we should all challenge ourselves to start from where we are. Let's work on our bins, getting separate bins for plastics and biodegradable. Let's work on how frequently we use our air conditioners. I always make a joke at my office that I think air conditioners are for when days are really, really hot. I don't see why it should be on a very rainy, cold day. You know, those are some things we need to think about. Why can't we just open the window instead? You know, we have so many other things to consider. We can decide to set up meetings in the lawn, you know, to enjoy fresh air. You don't always have to be in your boardroom with a cold AC, etc. So what tiny actions can you take where you are to promote yourself to that level? And then how can that translate to the businesses or the clients who come to you to help market their products? And if you find that their products are not sustainable, what can you recommend for them? Can we go back to the drawing table of the product design?
Thank you. And Vernon, I know you wanted to chip in. You can do that and add your final thoughts, please.
So I think Mr. Boateng said something about communicating ROI on sustainability, which is very critical, because most business owners don't get it because they don't understand how it actually affects the bottom line. And the basic rule about it is if you don't measure it, you can't possibly calculate the return of that investment. And that is where most people fail, because they don't measure the amount of energy that they consume, right? And then when you have a huge investment, I've seen people actually invest in solar without doing energy efficiency initially, right? Which means that you literally are in the problem. So to me, sustainability marketing doesn't necessarily mean that it is green. There can be sustainability marketing that is not green.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's the onus of us, especially brand owners, to educate themselves about what sort of mechanisms they can leverage, especially in their design product. Because when you start your product, it's not about just the product, it's about how you design it. How do you start by thinking about eliminating waste?
Okay.
Right? How do you sort of figure out how can I incorporate carbon footprint and carbon credits into my product line? What sort of sustainable finance mechanisms
I need
can
to
I
push you very much.
integrate
Yeah.
to make sure that I can actually balance the cost of sustainability with mechanisms that can help bring my product costs down so that everyone can afford it. So it's about educating ourselves about the basic concept of how to sustain that process.
Okay. Michael, I saw you, nodding when Vernon was making those comments. 30 seconds, please. Give us your final thoughts on this.
I will use 10 seconds to talk about policy. When he said policy, I was really happy. Policy, we need government to start thinking that let's tax goods, let's tax bad, and stop taxing goods. When is giving employment to 10, 15, 20, 100 people, that person should not be taxed. A person should be taxed, a company should be taxed if they are emitting carbon emissions. Then we can tax them based on the emissions they are emitting. And my final thought is this.
Please, 10 seconds. We really need to go. Sorry.
Yes. We need every product that you are marketing, every service that you are marketing, we need to determine the carbon footprint of that product or that service.
Excellent. Doc, close it for us, please.
Sustainability is no more just a byword or something you can just talk about. It's now more of a central strategy if you want to grow as a business. And all stakeholders, consumers, brands, governments must invest into it. Government has a role through policy, taxation, and procurement directives. Consumers have a role by demanding sustainable products. And organizations also have a role by ensuring that everything they do is sustainable.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Vernon. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Dr. Doe. Thank you, viewers. This has really been engaging. What I'll ask you to do is let's continue the conversation. Go to any social media platform, look for InnovaDDB Ghana, and the hashtag is #MarketingMavericks. Let's continue this conversation. We really need it, and let's all be sustainable. Thank you very much.